Research is hard, but your tools should not be. Subthesis.com is the free alternative to expensive software. Whether you need to calculate Chromebox alpha or organize your field notes, Subthesis has a tool for it. No paywalls and no registration required. Check the link in the description and let's dive into today's lesson. Welcome back to the PM Playbook. Many projects depend on external vendors for critical deliverables. Today we'll explore how to manage vendor relationships effectively, from contract structure to ongoing management to handling problems when they arise. Vendors often deliver work that's on your critical path. If they're late, you're late. But you have less control over vendors than internal teams. You can't directly manage their staff or change their priorities. Problems with vendors are expensive. Switching vendors mid-project is painful. Legal disputes are costly. Good vendor management prevents most issues. The time invested up front saves enormous pain later. Vendor relationships follow a life cycle. Selection is choosing the right partner through evaluation and due diligence. Contracting sets expectations formally through legal agreements. Management is the ongoing relationship, monitoring performance and maintaining communication. Closure ends the relationship well, with lessons learned and proper transition. Each stage has its own challenges and techniques. Let's start with contracts. The contract is your foundation. It defines what you're buying, what you're paying, and what happens when things go wrong. There are three main contract types. Fixed price means you pay an agreed amount regardless of how much effort the vendor expends. The vendor carries the risk of cost overruns. Time and materials means you pay for actual hours worked at agreed rates. You carry the risk if it takes longer than expected. Cost plus means you pay the vendor's costs plus an agreed markup. Again, you carry the risk. Each type transfers risk differently between you and the vendor. Use fixed price when scope is well defined and the vendor has expertise. They can estimate accurately and carry the risk appropriately. Use time and materials when scope is unclear or evolving. You need flexibility to change direction. Use cost plus for complex work where neither party can estimate accurately, with a trusted partner who won't abuse the arrangement. Mismatching contract type to situation causes problems. Fixed price for unclear scope leads to disputes. T&M for clear scope means you pay for inefficiency. Key contract elements include the statement of work, which defines exactly what the vendor will deliver. Be specific. Ambiguity benefits whoever interprets it later. Payment terms define when and how you pay. Milestone-based payments tied to deliverables protect you. Acceptance criteria define how you verify delivery. What tests must pass. Who approves. Change process defines how scope changes are handled. Projects always change. Have the mechanism ready. Service level agreements, or SLAs, define specific measurable performance standards. Response time. The vendor will respond to urgent issues within 4 hours. Availability. The system will be available 99.5% of the time. Quality. No more than 3 critical defects per release. SLAs should have consequences for failure, typically credits or penalties, but SLAs are only meaningful if monitored. Track actual performance against SLA targets, otherwise they're just words. Leverage is your ability to influence vendor behavior. Without leverage, you're at their mercy. Let's discuss how to create and maintain it. Leverage comes from several sources. Contract terms and penalties provide legal leverage. If they fail to deliver, there are consequences. Payment milestones tied to deliverables mean they don't get paid until they deliver. Money is powerful motivation. Future business potential is leverage. If the vendor wants ongoing work from you, they'll protect the relationship. Your reputation and references matter. If the vendor wants your endorsement for future clients, build leverage from multiple sources. Maintain leverage throughout the engagement. Hold back a meaningful portion of payment until complete delivery. Once you've paid everything, your leverage is mostly gone. Maintain awareness of competitive alternatives. If the vendor knows you have options, they're more attentive. Document performance issues as they occur. This creates a record if disputes arise later, but also build relationships. Personal relationships complement contractual leverage. A vendor who likes you will work harder than one who's only motivated by fear. Sometimes leverage is lost. If you've paid everything before delivery is complete, you have little financial leverage remaining. If no viable alternatives exist, the vendor knows you can't switch. If switching costs are too high due to technical lock-in or time pressure, you're stuck. Work to prevent these situations. Structure payments wisely. Maintain alternatives. Avoid unnecessary lock-in. Once leverage is lost, your options are limited. Let's discuss the ongoing management of vendor relationships. The contract gets you started. Management keeps things on track. Establish regular communication rhythms. Weekly status meetings are the minimum for active engagements. More frequent if things are troubled. Define escalation paths on both sides. If the project team can't resolve an issue, who's next? Build executive relationships for major issues. When escalation is needed, you want access to vendor leadership. Don't let problems fester. Address issues as they emerge. Problems raised early are usually solvable. Problems raised late become crises. Monitor vendor performance systematically. Track actual performance against SLAs. Is response time meeting targets? Is quality acceptable? Monitor the quality of deliverables as they're produced. Don't wait until the end to discover problems. Document issues and how they were resolved. This history is valuable for performance reviews and any disputes. Conduct regular formal performance reviews. Quarterly is common. Share feedback and expectations. When problems arise, address them directly and early. Don't hope they'll resolve themselves. Document issues in writing. Verbal complaints get forgotten or denied. A written record protects you. Escalate when the working level can't resolve the issue. Involve management on both sides. Know when to invoke contract remedies. Penalties, SLA credits, or termination provisions exist for a reason. Be willing to use them when appropriate. A cure notice is a formal notification that the vendor is in breach of contract. It specifies exactly what must be corrected. It gives a time frame for correction, often 30 days. If the issue isn't cured, the cure notice is typically a precursor to termination. Cure notices are serious. They signal that you're considering ending the relationship. Use them when softer approaches have failed, but don't bluff. If you issue a cure notice, be prepared to follow through. The best vendor relationships are partnerships, not adversarial transactions. Treat vendors as partners. They want to succeed too. Share information appropriately so they can do their best work. Celebrate joint successes. When things go well, recognize their contribution publicly. Be tough when necessary, but fair always. Vendors understand that you'll hold them accountable. They resent being treated unfairly. Partnership relationships outperform transactional ones over time. Common vendor problems include understaffed or underqualified teams. The vendor sold you senior resources but delivered junior ones. Scope disputes arise when the vendor interprets requirements narrowly or pads change orders. Communication breakdowns happen when information doesn't flow between organizations. Priority conflicts occur when the vendor has other clients they consider more important. Recognize these patterns early. Address them before they become critical. Let's apply this. Think of a current vendor relationship in your work. What leverage do you have? Payments, future business, alternatives. What are the risks? Where might they fall short? How would you respond? What would improve the relationship? Better communication, clearer expectations, partnership behaviors. This assessment helps you see your vendor relationships more clearly and identify improvements. Let's summarize. Match your contract type to the situation and risk profile. Fixed price for defined scope, T and M for flexibility. Create leverage through contract terms, payment structure, and alternatives. Maintain it throughout the engagement. Monitor vendor performance systematically against SLAs and quality standards. And balance partnership with accountability. Treat vendors well, but hold them to their commitments. In our next lecture, we complete Module 4 with remote team management. Distributed teams require different approaches than co-located ones. We'll cover async communication, time zone management, and building connection across distance. Thank you for exploring vendor management with me. External partners are often critical to your success. Manage those relationships deliberately. I'll see you in the next lecture. Research is hard, but your tools should not be. Subthesis.com is the free alternative to expensive software. Whether you need to calculate Chromebox Alpha or organize your field notes, Subthesis has a tool for it. No paywalls and no registration required. Check the link in the description and let's dive into today's lesson.